Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you guys, I have a gentleman, Kevin Akpovwa, who I met a few years back at a nursing conference. I was just attending with my wife, trying to get the game on some business that she wanted to do in the healthcare. This young man, he was there. He was a nurse at the time, just a nurse looking for a change. You could tell that he had the fire in his eye. He was ready to make, some bigger money than what nurses could make and control his own destiny. Fast forward years prior, in the future, whatever. My wife says, check out the guy Kelvin boasting these big checks from his business. I'm talking about big checks. So you guys don't understand what it means to make $20,000+ a month. He's going to give us the game because, of course, we are in the same training that he did, and he's going to share his experience going from nursing to a six-figure and possibly, I might not know this, seven-figure entrepreneur. Kelvin, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Kellen. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And I don't want all your family to be, on you, calling you during, COVID times, Christmas time. So we don't have to go full into the bag. But the checks that I saw were $10, $15, $13,000 checks. You have come a long way, and I just want to congratulate you, man. It's inspiring.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Tell us about the journey on, what took you from nursing to entrepreneur.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate that, man. So, Kellen, my story's a little bit more, the need for me to, I've always had this entrepreneurial aspirations to drive, you know what I mean? I grew up in, Nigeria, obviously. I'm an African. I came to the United States with my family when I was 20. So back in Nigeria, my dad had his own business, was an entrepreneur, you know what I mean? So, and which involved marketing, production. Coming down as a biochemist, so marketing, production, and so I was exposed to that earlier on, and I always knew that I wanted to go into some sort of business. But back then, growing up, the culture you grew up in, sort of, you either go to medical school or pharmacy or law school, and that's pretty much the sciences. So when my family came to America, quite naturally, med school was a thing. That was my, that's the thing to do. So I started college. I was doing a pre-med, but in college I was wild, B. I was just out of control, man. Parties, chicks, the whole nine. I blew my GPA. So when that happened, I switched majors pretty quick. And, I became a psych major. I graduated, and I still was pursuing medical school, so I did a post-bac in Portland State in Oregon. And I even attempted to, after my post-bac, I got into a program with a medical school in the Caribbean, and I didn't make it. So I came back to the States, and, nursing school was my, that was a plan B for me. So I applied to nursing school. I did an accelerated program for I think it was 11 months. I got my degree, and I started working. But while I was in school, I knew that I always wanted to go into business. I knew that the rat race, being an employee, just wasn't for me, if you will, because of my prior experiences. After my first when I first got my first degree, because I just wasn't cut for the corporate nonsense. So while I was in nursing school, I started researching opportunities for nurses in business, and I found this organization, NNBA, and I joined as a student nurse. And while I was in school, I saw that the following year they were going to have a conference. So I came for the conference, and I specifically that was where I met you, your wife, and the other great nurses, and of course met my mentor Stella. And she, I joined coaching, and she asked me, it was about, so pretty much it's elder care, right? It's elder care. She's an elder care expert, caring for seniors in their homes or wherever they call home. So she said, okay, she said when I get back to New York to do my research, and she said, what states am I nearby? So I said, of course, I live in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, because at the time I was going to do it in New York, but New York had I think a 2-year backlog with application. And so she said, okay, what's the next that's close to you? I said New Jersey and Connecticut. So I chose to open my office in New Jersey. This was, I think, 2017. And it's been a trying experience. At a point, I was going to walk away from the business because at the time I was a brand new nurse, right? Do my nursing job and funding the cost of a brand new business. The good thing is that this business model does not require a whole lot of capital. You can work your income as a nurse. You can use that income to fund the business at the same time. So it was great. So I started the business. And and the thing with business, you really get to learn yourself, know about yourself, how you respond in times of crisis, right? So and of course with Stella's mentorship, I've been able to grow the business, and those checks you saw, those are like monthly checks from different clients, of course, So I think at that point at that point. I was about $60,000 of monthly gross income at that point, So it was great. It was a great feeling, having employees. I had about 14, 15, 16 employees at that point, and of course COVID came, and COVID impacted us. Well, we slowly but surely, building back up.
Wow. Now that's a big jump. And again, I'm so happy to hear, like, going from taking, orders and, okay, I got to do this, to saying, you know what, I'll work PRN at best just to keep my license.
So
Yeah.
so what I was saying about that, right? Especially to nurses out there and healthcare professionals who are looking to be entrepreneurs and be their own bosses, those people who have always harbored a dream and aspiration of working for themselves in some capacity. Just have a plan and be strategic about it, right? Don't just go cold turkey. For me, I had Stella, my mentor. God, thank God, shout out to Stella, man. She's been amazing in terms of supporting me, God, and she would try. She would try you, man. She tested me, So I went from the bed. I went from being a bedside nurse, right? And from there, she challenged me to quit that job, and I took let me back up. My first year of being a nurse, I worked as a brand new nurse, what they call new grad. I worked out of teaching hospital in Brooklyn, New York. And after my first year, after my first year, my first nursing job, my second job, I landed six figures. I landed a job that was paying me 6 figures, and everybody around me was like, "Yo, dude, what are you doing? Like, how are you making this much money? Like, you just graduated. How are you making 6 figures?" He's like, because the job I had, the new job was home care, seeing patients in their homes. And I remember the nurses I knew, the senior nurses, like, yo, Kelvin, that pay they offer you, that's a pay for like veteran nurses. How come after just a year of being a nurse, you making 6 figures? It was just God's favor. So after doing that job, Stella then said to me, okay, it's time for you to go PRN. I'm like, whoa, PRN? How am I gonna pay my bills, right? So she challenged me to go PRN. I went PRN, and we walk in PRN. So even though they were paying me 6 figures, the downside of that was that they had control over my time. And once I got in business, you always hear people say time is money. That is so true. I learned that the hard way, because even though the company was paying me 6 figures, they had absolute control over my time. So I could not work in my business like I wanted to. So I worked for that company for about a year, and I left them and I went back to the hospital working PRN, which means that I dare now give the hospital my schedule, right? So I only work when I want to work. So I worked 12 days out of the month. The other days I was working in my business. So after I did it for about another year, so I was like, it's time to quit your job. I'm not quit. So effective January 1st of this year, I went full time in my business, and this is me going full time in my business. This is me scared. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? It's food. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay? All this fear and just fear and anxiety of going all in, and it's interesting because 6 months later, 5 months later I'm still making good. I'm making good income for my business, right? I'm paying my bills. I'm paying my staff. Paying my overhead, and I take on my daily So every week has its challenges, right, in business. And as I go through its challenge, it makes me stronger. It makes me better. I get more experience. So what I would say to those healthcare professionals who are looking to go into business, definitely have a strategy, right? Don't just go cold turkey. Have a strategy and walk your plan.
Now, explain to the people, because a lot of folks, and I see it as a consultant, because I see so many, different businesses and the models and what people have tried. And we know Stella's plan works. Thank God for her, truly. But what did you do when you got those, you get $60,000 of income in a month, and then, people were like, oh, $60,000, he can ball out. But break down like your thought process. What am I going to do? Am I going to pay myself first, which some experts say? Am I going to pay my employees first? What was your thought process and strategy? And, was that, and then at the end of the day, how much of that did you have to profit to really, do whatever you want it with? Because a lot of business owners, that disconnect comes once they first get their little bit of money and they look at it as all profit.
So the thing is that, thank God for Stella's mentorship yet again. Once upon a time, I used to worry about money, and Stella calls it the scarcity mentality, which really comes from not having a lot, growing up in poverty, right? So when all the check you're saying, of course, you want to pay your team, your staff, right? You want to pay your staff. You want to pay the payroll company. You pay your overhead, like rent. You want to pay like phone bills. You want to pay, pretty much cover the cost of your overhead, cover the cost of payroll. Then Stella gave me a very important advice. I do not focus on the money. I only, after paying, my staff and taking care of the overhead of the business, I only pay myself what I need. So, for example, if my monthly expense between my bills is, let's say, if my monthly expense, my monthly personal expense status, if it's, say, $3,000, for example, right? Then what I'll do, every 2 weeks, I'll pay myself $1,500. No more, no less. I live strictly on what I need. The excess, just leave it in your account. Don't worry about it. Just let it come. Just let it sit there. And that's exactly what I've been doing, right? I do not worry about the money so much, because that's now, just let it. And this is why I'm in coaching, because with each stage in the business, Stella interjects what I need to do. Okay, you make X, Y, Z cabinet now. This is what you can do. This is what you should do. And this is why I highly recommend to anyone looking to go into business, whatever business venture, whatever field you're looking to go into, look for someone who has been successful in that field and let them mentor you. And that's why coaching is really important. Mentorship has been great for me. I can't thank God for that. I can't overstate the importance of it. But to answer your question yet again, just to summarize it, I pay my team, my employees. I cover the cost of the overhead of the business between rent and phone and the cost of my time management system, with my employees clock in, clock out, pretty much cover all my overhead. Then pay myself only what I need. And what you realize when you do that is this, that when you're an employee, so let me back up. When I was working in the hospital and working in home care, and people tell you, oh, I want to go into business, I want to do this, I want to do that. And the complaint people have is that they don't have money. And Stella would tell me back then, a couple of years ago, that's not true. You have a lot of money. Now I know what she's talking about, because now that I pay myself only what I need, I realized that when I was an employee in the hospital and in home care and as a per diem nurse, I had a whole lot of disposable income.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you pay yourself strictly what you need, those are the extra monies that I had as a nurse. I used to go bowling, trips, shopping and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, snap. So really, if anyone really wants to go into business and they really are responsible and hold themselves accountable in how they spend their money, they realize that they do have a whole lot of disposable income that they can use towards their business, whatever that is. So that's what I've learned in the process.
And that's, easier said than done, because you see that. I mean, people can waste millions of money. We see it from athletes, entertainers, even during this COVID time. Gabriel Union is telling us people are one check away and they've made millions. And I've seen it. I mean, I've had clients who can do, thousands and thousands of dollars every day in their life by just, saying something for 30 seconds, 60 seconds. And then hard times come and you say, what did you do with all your money? But it's spent in things that you don't need. You don't have to have the Maybach because your neighbor has it. My neighbor has a Maserati, and I hear the neighbor down the way has the McLaren. I don't have to necessarily keep up with them personally. I like renting those things on Turo and not having to.
Oh, you're my kind of guy. You are my kind of guy. You know about Turo. Once you mention Turo, I'm like, yeah, he's my kind of guy.
Yeah. Don't you love that site? When you want to stunt, you can stunt, and when when you don't want to be seen in your whatever, I got a Toyota, and nobody is checking for this Toyota, but it's clean. But that's, you don't have to have what your neighbors have, and that's why America is so broke. And especially in the Black community, no matter where you're from, it's always the same thing. I've gone to Soweto, Kenya, Ethiopia, Cameroon, Jamaica, Mexico, even in Black Mexico, you see the same thing.
Right. So Kellen, let me. I'm glad you brought it up. Right.
Yeah.
So, and especially in this time that we're living through, we're all in quarantine, living through the pandemic. It has afforded me a lot of time to really think. Right. Mm. By nature, I'm very introspective. I like to collect my thoughts a lot. I spend a lot of time by myself. Now, because of the circumstances in which we live in, I'm even more forced to do that. And the one thing I'm realizing, Kellen, is that for me, right, I didn't grow up rich, having a lot of money. So I do want to have certain life experiences, right? I'm going to be honest with you. To some extent, I can be material. I can be, I can be flamboyant and flashy to some extent, right? On the one hand, I will acknowledge that. Probably is a Nigerian in me. You know how we Nigerians are, right? On the other hand, though, I don't know that I want to chase. In fact, for a fact, I do not want to chase. I don't want to keep chasing material success and material positions as the hallmark of success, vis-a-vis how our societies always put it in our face. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you mentioned something that I think is key, right? People should not use other people's lives as a yardstick in measuring their success. And yet again, this is why I key it back to mentorship. Stella's mentorship has really helped me to really change my perspective of what success means, right? It is imperative for anyone looking to go into business to have a mentor who has an holistic approach to business, meaning your personal life, your business life, your spiritual life. A mentor who's going to tie all of that together in your approach to business. It really is really important. So what do I mean? Once upon a time, I remember, you go on social media, you see people flashing their wealth, their material stuff, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not living the life. You make you feel bad, if you will. I used to be that guy at some point, but now that I'm in business, I now get to define success for me. I get to define what success means to me. Let me give an example. This week, for example, during COVID, right, I lost like 3 of my big clients, because they passed, right? So, of course, that affected my cash flow, right? Now, in the last week or so, I've been doing, since COVID, Stella has been challenging all of us to become creative with our marketing because we're not able to physically go out to market because of social distancing. She's now challenging us as as entrepreneurs to really to get creative with our marketing from using the virtual platforms, from the Zoom calls, Facebook Lives, making phone calls, and from all these things, and each week we have weekly goals, and from all this marketing that I've been doing, I've been getting. So for instance, this week I'll be admitting two brand new clients. Last week I admitted one. So for me, this is my success, right? Vis-a-vis my hard work. I put in the work and I'm seeing the result, and that made me feel really good. And you know what it does? Boosts my confidence to do it even more. So now I have tunnel vision. I'm not worried about what the next person on the gram is doing or what the next person on Facebook is doing. I get to define what success means to me, and I'm proud about it. I own that. That's my success. I own it. So I say that to say that people should not focus on so much on material wealth. I get it. If you come from not having a lot, once you start having money, you want what to know that you're making money. I get that. But at some point it should become about, at least I think, it should become about contentment, being content with where you are, such that no matter what is going on in the world, no matter what brand new car, you are content with what you have.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely get it. And this is why, with us opening the companion care, it's one thing, but one thing I know about myself, I like opening businesses. I like to try to find a system. And I really, Stella is someone who coined into that, years ago, like, what's the system? Because I know what I like doing day to day. And I love doing my consulting. I love doing my PR. But it's even more consulting now during the COVID times because people need the expertise and things have just grown. But give people a clear site. Is this the type of business that if they grow it to the level that you've grown it, that they can then hire someone and then step back and not do it? Or is this for the entrepreneur who needs to constantly be involved in their business?
No, absolutely. So if you have to be constant, so let me back up. A good business model is one that allows you the freedom to do other things, right? If you have to constantly micromanage your business model, then micromanage your business, then that's not a good business. So I say that to say that yes, you can. So right now, because I'm in a beginning stages of my business, I of course have to work in my business, right? Mm-hmm. I have to, I have to do my daily operations. I'm daily operations. I'm the HR person. I'm the payroll person. I play all the different aspects of the business on me because for about a year or so I stepped away from the business, right? And towards the end of last year, so I started back in, and January 1st of 2020, I'm all in full time now. So now what I'm doing now, I'm working in my business full time. Now I can master all aspects of the business, such that when I do hire someone, I can teach them. Because you do not want to hire employees, and when you haven't mastered your systems, right? You want to master all aspects of the systems. That way you can train other people on how you want it done. So to answer your question, yes, it's a kind of business model. And FYI, I did have an office person, right? At a point, I did have an office person that was running a business that was managing the daily operations for me, but had to let it go because she wasn't growing with the business. So right now, with the systems I have, I don't need anyone else. I could do it. I could do it, but I could manage. I can run all aspects of the business. But as I grow, right? As I grow in the business, obviously, at some point, I'm going to need someone to come in. And in fact, that's that's one of the things Stella hones in this coaching course. At some point, and we've seen her had this conversation too. She's going to let me know when I need to hire someone, bring someone in. That way, it can free me up to do other things. Because as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, your best, your time is best spent in building those relationships that brings you more business. Right? It's of no value when you go and do like the payroll and scheduling and other stuff. That does not bring value to the business. As a business owner, your time is best spent in the field creating those relationships that brings more business. And quite frankly, personally, that's the part I enjoy the most. The networking and going to events and going to the chamber meetings and meeting people. That's where I thrive because I'm a social butterfly and I can talk my head off. So I like that part.
I love that part myself. I love it. I love it. The especially the swanky stuff. I'm invited, to so many things because people want good energy, and it's
Right.
so hard sometimes. In the entrepreneurial circle, you find people. Some people are doing great. Some people are doing so great they're scared to go back. How do you deal with the mental health and sometimes, the depression that entrepreneurs are known to have because it's all on you?
Right. Yo, Kellen, man, you making me smile because you're asking the right questions. And that's how you're heading in the right place. Man, see, I don't know. I hope your audience doesn't mind this, but as a single man, you realize that in business, you really need now more than ever. You realize that at least where I'm at, the space where I'm at in my life now, you realize that you need a worthy partner, right? You realize that you do need a woman who is going to believe in you and support you. It makes a difference, right? On the one hand. On the other hand, though, your mental health is everything. And Kellen, I gotta tell you to you and the wife and whoever else has, looking to go into this business, whatever you guys do, please stick with Stella, man, because that woman she's been very transformative in my life. You know what I mean? That's a real thing because if your mental health is messed up, because your personal life and your business life to some extent is one and the same, because if your personal life is messed up, then your business life is messed up, right? Because it fits they fit each other. So you come to realize that it's in fact, according to me, irresponsible to not take your mental health and your physical health seriously as an entrepreneur, because it's very vital. Now I'm guilty as charged because I like to eat, right? And I have and Stella's always on my case about eating right and eating healthy and being on my the other day she gave me this regimen for this to boost my immune system. So thank God I've been in that, especially in this COVID time that I don't fall sick. So exercising is important, right? Exercise, eating right. You have to have a routine, right? That's why I say to you, when you go into business, when you become an entrepreneur, it really, really tests you. You get to know who you are. Let me give an example. Back in January, when January 1st, 2020, I went in full time. I remember the first couple of weeks, I used to get anxiety attacks, right? Because let's say I do the schedule for the week, right? And I send the schedule out to my employees, and they confirm the schedule, right? And I'm home sleeping, enjoying my day. I'm like, thank God. I'm like, this is the life. And after clock in, I get up when I want to get up. And at 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone. My business phone rings. I'm like, who's calling me now? I answer the phone, and the employee tells me that she's calling now. She can't make it to work. I'm like, what do you mean? You confirmed the schedule. And this is a client that's getting 24-hour care. They cannot be without, they need care, right? Not to mention the client's family, they're in Greece at a vacation. So they left the client in our care. So we are now the family. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? You confirmed the schedule. She needs care. What are you talking about? She said, nah, I can't make it. Some nonsense excuse she gave me. She was pretty much lying. I knew she was lying. So I hang up the call. I'm like, now I'm getting palpitations. I can't see right. I can't breathe. I just having anxiety. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I want to lose this client. All this negativity, right? All this negative, fitting to the negativity. And so that was typical of my first month in business, full time. I used to get a lot of anxiety attacks, especially if I have a call out. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And then what happens is this, right? You feel the negative energy and you get depressed and you get anxious. Oh my God, what am I going to do? As opposed to, because then when you feel that energy, it now prevents you from actually problem solving, right? Because like Stella always tells me, as a business owner, you are a professional problem solver. That's what you get paid for. So if you feed that anxiety, it does you no good. So what you do, you step out for a second. Okay, this is causing me stress. This is causing me anxiety. What do I do to fix it? That's the problem. How do I fix it? So that's what I've learned to do. So 5 months later, I am not comfortable with managing those kind of crises because I've become accustomed to it. So for example, last night, I got an email from one of my employees saying, I'm just letting you know, on such and such a day, I can't make it. I'm not sure. In the past, that would cause me anxiety. I would freak out about, oh my God, I just because that fear, oh my God, fear. You know, fear that instant, oh my God, right? Now I'm cool with it, man. Cool like ice. You know what I mean? And just, and now know how to manage this kind of crisis. So I say all of that to say that the depression and the loneliness that comes with entrepreneurship is real, but that's why you need to take care of your mental health. It's very important. And also you need to have, if you have a spouse, or if you have family members, it's good to have positive people in your corner who's going to actually go be by your corner and support you and build you up, because you actually need that. It's not easy, man. It's not easy. It's all right in you, man. It's a big thing. Mental health, it's a big deal.
And what do you do? Because God is good, because that is with this business of a business that I personally know very little about, and going through all the training, and I listen, I hear good, but in my business, if I have a consultant or a publicist who doesn't do their job, I can do their work and I can probably do it better than them. I just have built a team because I've done this for 2 decades. But what did you do? Someone calls you out. Like, that's a nightmare. But what do you do? Call care.com's like 1-800-911 line. Moment.
It's good. So that's a good question. So for one, you have backup caregivers, right? People who want to back up. Mm-hmm. So, for example, when someone calls out, I just have the employee current of the client, let them know, listen, if I cannot find someone to replace them, let them know, listen, this is what's happening. And I will not be able to send you release until tomorrow or 2 days later. And plus they cannot just leave someone who's elderly and who also probably has other comorbidities by themselves, because it's against the law. The elderly, they have to be cared for. So and that also ties into having a good relationship with the team, right? Being treating your team with respect, talking to them with respect, being nice to them. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I remember last year we had an end of year party. I had a Christmas party for my team, and I had my family come out. My parents and my siblings. And my dad, my parents were shocked when they saw my staff, like about 15 people, and they were like, "These are your staff." So it felt so good for my parents to really acknowledge my success. And when I came home, I knelt down and they had me kneel down, they prayed for me and they blessed me. So it was such a good feeling, right? So I do what I can for my staff, just let them know that I appreciate them. That way, when these little call-ups happen, I'm not stuck. Right, but also you also want to have like backup people that you can call and go to work right away when you need them. So these are the systems you have in place in the event of a call out.
Okay, okay. And that is, what I need to hear. That's also what people need to hear, whatever their business is, because if whoever you've hired to do the job can't do the job. There's another business I'm working on, and it's in it's in the developing stages, and I'm like, I can always find a backup. It's handyman type work. You can always
Okay.
find a backup at Home Depot if your
Hmm.
first team backs up. So, but in healthcare, it's different because I mean, this is people's lives.
Yes, you got to be that.
Yeah, on the line. So that's good. And I don't want to give the people a game overload because they've heard you say Stella, and they need to kind of go through and see if that is a way they want to go, because companion care in most states is very easy. In Florida, it was a $50 fee, and we're just waiting for the license to come back.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, and that's just the companion care, not the home health agency, the other additional services, but just to sit with someone. But with all your success that you've had, what is your community give back that you are doing or that you want to do in the future for the community?
Kellen, you know what, man? This guy here, man. I feel like you're reading my mind, man. But so here's the thing, Kellen. I'm going to say this to you, right? And this will come as a shock, you know, to your audience. But please don't judge me, right? And this is I want to speak based on truth and honesty, right? So I grew up in a part of the world where community giving back to the community was not the doctrine, was not part of the social ether, if you will, right? Unlike in the American system where giving back in all aspects of American life, it's promoted, it's preached, you know, it's second nature. When I was coming up in Nigeria, that was not the case. So fast forward coming to America, you know, it doesn't come to me readily, right? And so, for example, my younger siblings who grew up here, they do that every day, all day. They just, they go volunteer in the soup kitchens, help the home, feed the homeless, whatever, things like that. Those things, they are great and noble things, but for me, they don't come natural because I wasn't nurtured like that coming up. On the
Mm-hmm.
other hand, though, now that I'm in the community working with for instance, okay, let me give an example. The Chamber of Commerce, my local Chamber of Commerce, I work closely with them, and I had the same conversation with the president of the Chamber of Commerce the other day, and I was like, I really want to get into more community events, giving back, and I was asking her, what can I do? Like, she said, okay, Kevin, sure, that's great. They have a couple of they have events coming up, so like them to come out and volunteer my time, help people, help volunteer, and setting up stuff, setting up events. Like the other day, she called me 2 days ago, and she said that a lot of the restaurants in our town where my business is, she wants they're slowly opening back up. So she said if I could do her a favor and just call like maybe a couple 20 restaurants to know what their plan is for reopening. That way the residents know what they're doing as far as reopening, to the extent that they can support their business. And I'm like, great, sign me up. I'll do that, right? I'd love to do that. And she said they have coming up, I think next month, so they're having some sort of community event. Hopefully they can have this parade coming up. She said if I want, I can volunteer for be part of the committee to set it up. I'm like, sure. So these are some of the things that I'm slowly getting back into as a way to be more involved and engage with the community, because I feel the need and the sense to do that. And especially now that I'm a business owner, all of a sudden I'm realizing things. When you are in business, you start realizing things for yourself, like that makes you just a lot more responsible, makes you part of it makes you just a part of the community. It makes the community identify with you. It just makes you a lot more responsible from a corporate standpoint. It just makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. And, I mean, the Chamber of Commerce are great moves. I mean, your local score is always looking for mentors. Rotaries are always, Kiwanis, Lions, all these places are community type givebacks, but even like the young professionals groups in every city. I mean, it's
Right.
just great because, especially when they see a man in healthcare, that's not the everyday thing.
That's not the norm, right? I get it. And one thing, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one thing about me too, Kellen, I'm realizing that I like to. I didn't realize until recently, in the last 2 years, I realized that I like sharing information of value. Right? What do I mean? So, and unfortunately, as an African and Black people in general, I noticed that when we have valuable information, we want to keep it to ourselves, right? We don't want to hoard it. Oh, it's just for me, 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 me. But for me, I realized that let me case in point. When I was a staff nurse working at the hospital, and then at that point I already had my business, and I had a chip. I'm gonna be honest, give this charge, Kevin. I had a chip on my shoulder. I felt like I was that. I'm like, what? You can't tell me like I was that guy, right? Yeah. But then I loved sharing information with nurses about going to business, because they would see me, right? And they're like, how come you only work 12 days a week, 12 days a month? Like, how do you do it? And I'll laugh, right? And I'll tell them, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. Not to show off. That wasn't the point. I'm like, listen, as a nurse, it's possible for you to do this, do that. And I would tell them about Stella, NNBA, what's possible for nurses. And I just love sharing this information because I want to bring people value. So that's something I look forward to doing more of, right? I really, one of the plans I have, I want to go back to my alma mater in Pennsylvania and talk to the nursing class, right? And talk to them about going to business, because back when I was in nursing school, my colleagues, my friends there in school, my nursing friends knew then and that, where all of them were talking about going to school after their first degree, going back to get a master's or becoming a nurse, anesthetist, whatever the plan is. Whenever they would ask me, I would say business. So it's funny because 2 weeks ago, one of my boys from school called me, two of them, and I told them what I was doing. They were like, "Yo, Kevin," was like, "You can we get a job?" So I started laughing. And then it's like, you know what? They're not really shocked, because when I was in school, that was all I talked about, going into business. So I really want to talk to young professionals, nursing students who are looking to go into business, and sort of encourage them and tell them what's possible, tell them my story. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm still young in business. I'm not, but still share my experience thus far and what's possible. I would love to do that as a way to give back. Just bringing value.
Man, we're gonna talk. I know off air, but I could see the SBA, the Chamber of Commerce, the young professional groups. Usually they're all tied in, but I could see you chairing your own healthcare division of that, since you are in New Jersey. Again, folks, don't want to give you a game overload. You've learned a lot. Go back, rewind. I need you to like and share this information to inspire somebody, because we know there's a lot of people who want to do business, but they don't have that push. You are that push. We are just here to facilitate and to tell stories. So, Kelvin, I thank you for coming on. We're going to continue this off air.
Sure, for real, man, for real. Thank you for having me, and thank you to your audience. I appreciate it.
You guys been blessed. Like, share, and subscribe.